welcome to the garden. This is our first garden tour of the summer season. I'm super excited to share what is happening in the garden. I have transplanted almost everything over the last week and a half to 2 weeks. Unfortunately, I got sick in between there. I think I kind of overdid it, and so I wasn't able to get everything all in 1 week. And so we're going to end this first week of June with our first garden tour. So again, welcome. As you walk into the garden, we have two strawberry containers right now. I had decided that I wasn't going to be growing strawberries this season, but after seeing everyone posting on Instagram their strawberries, I decided to give them a try again this year. So hopefully I have success and they bring me joy. I actually just added a third container, or will be adding a third container with a couple of other varieties that I got this weekend. So I'm super excited about those. Along the front of the garden, I have approximately 10 to 13 containers, and in front of those are some smaller containers that have herbs and flowers that I'm going to just move around the garden for some companion planting to try to repel pests and see how that does this season. But again, also to save space and be able to move them up to my deck when I want. So I have those. And along the front in these larger containers are a variety of summer crops. And so this first container here, I haven't decided what I'm going to be transplanting there yet. Right now it is just holding some marigolds that I started from seed and had in a separate container, but I needed that container for something else. And so I just have them here in the dirt right now so that they don't die. But I will be planting that container in the next couple of days once I decide what I'm gonna put in there. Next up, we have some purple potted beans, which this is my first year growing this variety and I'm super excited. Look at that purple stem. So super excited about these. I also plan on adding some sweet potato slips that are rooting right now. So once those are ready, I will add those to that container as well. In the next container, there are Market More cucumbers and some contender bush beans. And in the next, I think approximately 6 to 7 containers, there is a combination of borage and squash, and then tomatoes, marigolds, and basil. And so in these smaller containers, I have the borage, which is flanking the tomato plants, which is supposed to help repel pests. And so we have that along with the squash, and this is a golden bush squash. Next is the first tomato, which is a brandywine tomato. This is my second year growing brandywines. Ironically, I live in Brandywine, so that's actually probably why I bought the tomato last year. This year I started this from seed, and this is a red brandywine tomato. It's been storming the last few nights, and so everything is kind of leaning, which I am going to come through tonight and tomorrow morning and stake everything up. It is already time. If you go to my previous video, you can see how sad these tomatoes looked when I transplanted them. I had started the seeds, I think, back at the end of February, and so they just really were dying to get outside, and I'm so excited that they just look so healthy and so green. So we have, that's the first brandywine tomato. Next is an Amish paste tomato. Again, there is basil and marigolds flanking each of the tomatoes. Another borage and a squash. This is a dark star zucchini squash. Next up is aroma tomato. Here is a yellow brandywine tomato. A golden squash. That borage looks pretty straight. And then in these last few containers, we have bush lima beans, some Boston pickling cucumbers, and some sweet potato slips and more purple potted beans. And then here's the raspberry bush that I've shared. I have no clue what I'm doing with. But if you take a look, I think these are the canes from last season. They look like they are dying compared to the other ones, but I ate my first fruit off of it, and it looks like a couple more need to be harvested. So I need to do some more research on raspberry plants because, again, not quite sure what I'm doing. And so in the 8 raised beds, I have basically a variety of tomatoes and pepper plants again. This was the first bed that I transplanted before I kind of had a plan. And actually this year I just scrapped the plan. I typically plan it out on a computer, put everything in the spot where I want it, based on, again, companion planting or where something was the previous season. But I was growing so much this year that I had to scrap the plan because it was just becoming too much. And I essentially just followed my heart and followed, from based off the research and what I know, and just put things in the ground. So that was really actually freeing for me. And I definitely, depending on the success of this season, will be doing that again next year because it was just, gardening shouldn't be stressful. And so as soon as it started to become stressful, I knew I just needed to just follow my gut. So this bed has a variety of beets, golden beets, and Detroit red beets. I'm honestly not sure what's happening under there because I haven't really had any success with beets. I transplanted these late in the season, but they're going to stick around along with this chard. Have some onions and some round zucchini, which one of these is going to have to go, which absolutely breaks my heart. So I'm going to need to find someone to give it to. This is some corn, peaches and cream corn that one of my garden friends gave to me that I need to figure out where it will go. This is an early straight neck squash that took literally forever to germinate. As you can see, it germinated. I kind of helped it out of the seed and it looks pretty bad, but it does have a new leaf there, and so hopefully it will keep growing. These are potatoes, which have grown a lot in the last 2 days. This is my first year growing potatoes, so I'm excited to see how that goes this season. I've been told it's super easy, so definitely excited about that. This is bolted spinach, which I'm trying to wait to get seeds from it, but I don't know if I will be patient enough because I would love to put something else here. And actually I did already. If you can see in between the spinach leaves, there is a little tomato there. That's a Wapsipnicon tomato, a peach tomato that I started super late. And so I just tucked that in there to grow while I wait for the spinach seeds. In the back there, we have 2 Roselle plants and some kohlrabi. Those were free seeds from Baker Creek. So this is my first year growing the kohlrabi, and these look pretty good. The other side is getting eaten up by something. I'm not sure what those are yet. We have some sweet corn. a golden cow pepper, and I think I'm going to test out these grow bags. Again, I made these grow bags this season to increase my growing space. They were super easy to make and quite affordable. So I'm going to I think I'm going to test out a couple of tomatoes in these grow bags, or a tomato and a squash, to see how they do this season in the grow bags. In this bed we have ground cherries, squash, a variety of peppers. There's a zinnia tucked in there, and we have some melons, sugar baby and sugar cube melons, which I did grow last year. Underneath the trellis, I have some lettuce, calendula, and some radishes that I just direct sowed the other day that haven't sprouted yet, to kind of eventually get some shade if they can tolerate the heat. We have cosmos, a gang of peppers in here, carrots in the front of this bed, marigolds, and this is a Dad's Sunset tomato. And again, I shared in my previous video, I really was trying to better utilize my spacing this year, and I read Nicole's book, The Kitchen Garden Revival, and she talks about intensive planning. And if you follow her on Instagram, her garden just looks luscious. And so really about planting your large items, and then your medium-sized plants, and then your smaller plants. And so I'm giving that a shot this year. I'm super excited to see how it goes, and hopefully we'll have an increased harvest. And so definitely will need to ensure that I am harvesting and tending to the garden on a daily basis, which I love coming out here anyway, so that will not be difficult. So again, more tomatoes and peppers. This is another Brandywine tomato. This is the Studis strain Brandywine tomato. And underneath the trellis again, we have some sparkler radishes, which have sprouted. Some additional containers that I have plenty to fill those with, so need to get some plants in those. And then this is French breakfast radishes. And back on this side, we have a red zebra tomato, more peppers, and Minnesota midget melons. I also direct sowed a passion melon a couple days ago, so I'll be watching that to see if it germinates. Here we have a pineapple tomato, which again you can see from the wind and the storms, it is definitely leaning, so stakes are a must for the health of these plants, so I definitely will be getting that done. Another squash, more peppers. These gypsy peppers, I saved the seeds from a transplant last year because I absolutely love those. So excited to see how this does this season. I've never saved seeds before. I really honestly don't even know what I'm doing saving the seeds, how it works exactly with pollination and cross-pollination and hybrids, but I saved them and we'll see what happens. These are my sad looking nasturtiums. I honestly have had no success ever with nasturtiums. I was really hoping this year's the year, and I haven't given up, but I do think that I need to start some new seeds and get these transplanted so they have some additional space to grow. Here is the lacinato kale, which again has had a long, rough life, but the harvest has been plentiful. I've gotten so much off of the 3 plants that I had remaining. These were planted last August before a trip to Kenya. They were eaten down by caterpillars while I was in Kenya. I left them, they overwintered, and look at these leaves. They look absolutely beautiful. They taste delicious. This one has started flowering, which I'm leaving it here temporarily because the bees absolutely love it. But there are some other, I planted around it. And so I do want to ensure that all of the plants are able to get sunlight and to grow and have the space to grow. So we'll see what happens over the next week and a half. And that may need to be snipped down there at the root to leave space for everything else. We have a yellow pear tomato, which was absolutely the #1 showstopper last year in terms of tomatoes. That thing was giving me tomato, like I didn't even know what to do with all of the tomatoes. There were just tomatoes for days, and so definitely wanted to plant that again this year. Some butter crunch lettuce that I don't know what I was doing with that, but it's there. Might transplant a few and eat the other little sprouts. And these containers over here, more squash, a variety of beans, Kentucky Wonder beans. We also have some Thai basil. I had a lot of additional pepper plants, so I tucked a couple wherever I could find space, and we'll see how they do. These are Blue Lake pole beans growing on this side. This is more kohlrabi. This is actually the plants that I thinned that I did not want to throw in the trash. I have a serious problem with thinning and trashing plants. I don't know why, it's just so hard for me to do. So the leaf miners are getting this. I have sprayed it with neem oil, but it looks like it needs another spritz of that. And I have been searching for days to find the culprit for all of these holes with no success. So hopefully I will be able to find that little booger soon and get him off before it does any additional damage. This is my tea container, which I'm super excited about. I have some chamomile that I need to finish transplanting in different places, lavender, lemon verbena, lemongrass. So super excited about that. Arugula, which I've already started eating off of this. The fairy garden, which this chocolate mint is looking so nice and healthy. I have some milkweed down here that I need to transplant into another container. And this is where we are on week 2. Again, everything is looking healthy for the most part. I did all of the plants when they went in to the ground when I transplanted them, received some slow release fertilizer in the hole, and I think that really helped, especially with those tomatoes that were having a rough start because of the length of time that it took to transplant. But I'm super pleased. Oh, I totally forgot about my peas that are finally getting ready to make an appearance. You guys, I had these bamboo stakes here just standing here and hadn't trellised the peas. I'm so sorry, peas. But I finally got them trellised and they started flowering, and it has been super hot here in Maryland, so I'm not sure how long they'll last, but I will see what I can get from them, and then we'll keep it moving with something else. More radishes, icicle radishes, more cucumbers. which you can see they're getting ready to, I need to train those up so that they will latch onto the trellis. And we have aroma tomato here, some more calendula, more carrots. So this is summer garden tour week 1. I'll see y'all again next week.